Hey guys, welcome back to Physionic. Today, this week's subscriber question has been submitted by the subscriber Themis N. And Themis wants to know, does the source of protein matter? And Themis actually was asking that in the context of studies, so he's looked at studies before or maybe seen them referenced and talking about how studies, well, a lot of studies talk about 1 gram per pound of body weight, or for lean mass, whatever they end up using, it's a certain amount of grams per pound of X amount of whatever mass. And he wants to know, or they wanted to know, that what's happening there? What kind of source are they using for that? And do we need to adhere to that source? And the source that they're using in studies is typically whey protein. Sometimes they'll use a casein protein. Sometimes they'll use other sources as well. But for the most part, they'll use a whey protein because it is the gold standard. It's fast absorbable, fast digestible. And casein is also a milk protein, so that can easily be used quite as well. And of course, if you're going to be using it for casein studies, then of course you have to use casein. So does that then mean that we have to adhere? So if it says that let's just say 1 gram per pound of body weight, then do you need to be consuming exactly 1 gram per pound of body weight of that particular protein? And the answer is no. You don't have to. While the gold standard, they may have measured it in the gold standard of whey, and I guess ideally you would want to have those complete proteins. Your body's constantly in flux and it's constantly disposing and creating more amino acids. So within your cells, you're constantly going through what's called protein turnover, in which your cells are going through 2 different protein metabolic pathways, if you want to call it that, or breakdown pathways. I think that's probably more appropriate, in which you use what's called the proteasome, and you can also use what's called the autophagosome. And the autophagosome essentially takes large organelles and breaks them up into their constituent parts, proteins, and the proteasome uses smaller molecules, smaller like enzymes, things of that nature, and breaks those up into their little many amino acids. So if your body starts to run low on a particular amino acid, or a cell becomes low on a particular amino acid, it can turn over proteins that it doesn't necessarily deem 100% important in that moment, and will start to I won't say synthesize those amino acids, but will liberate them from their structure that they made up a particular enzyme and reuse them for some other purpose. So do you have to necessarily hit 1 gram per pound of complete proteins all the time? No, you don't, because your body has this ability to modulate when it uses particular amino acids. That said, I mean, if you have one day where you eat largely incomplete proteins, that's fine. But of course, if you do that over and over and over again, eventually your body's going to run out of those enzymes, or it's going to start tapping into breaking down particular enzyme complexes and protein complexes that make up your cells, and it's going to get to a point where it doesn't have that buffer anymore, and you're going to start suffering. The cell is going to start suffering, and eventually it dies. So, and if you extrapolate that out millions of times across your entire body, that's an issue. So do you have to worry about the protein source so much? Yes, in the big picture you do, but in the small picture, you know, for a day or 2 days, having incomplete proteins, and even just having some incomplete proteins, but largely having complete proteins for the majority of your food sources, that's perfectly fine. So you don't have to worry about it. Hopefully I answered your question, Themis, and that was actually a very good one. I really appreciate it. And be sure to ask further questions down below. And for next week's subscriber question, these are the people posting their questions: Ryan Davis, Steve Candathil, and this is going to be kind of odd to pronounce, Leonidas, right, babe? So those are the 3 questions that'll be up for next week. A conspiracy theory has been thrown up there as well on one of the questions. So just pick the one that you think you'd be most interested in learning about. And we will cover it next week. Have a good one, guys. See you.